Okay, Sunday, May 18th, 2025, and I'm at the Atomium Park here in Brussels. This is like probably the second biggest tourist attraction after the Grand Cathedral. Now I'm just going to take you around the park. We're not going inside because there's like a big long line for tickets, and I'm here with the wife and baby. They're over there behind me in that green area. My wife is running around with the baby and everything, letting her get her exercise. She's a runner. She's taken after her dad. I used to be a runner when I was young. So I'll just take you around the gardens here and chat about life and get this thing to set up right. But this Atomium, I think, was like some sort of world fairs. There was like a world fair here, and this was like the centerpiece attraction. It's like this thing in Knoxville, Tennessee, that they had when there was World's Fair, or like I think in New York they had it, and still they build a landmark which stays. You can see there's a lot of gardens. It's much greener here than the rest of Brussels. You can see behind me there's some trees there, but I'll maybe take you up close. I'll flip the camera around. Let's just see that this is, I charged up the microphone. So you can see each one of these balls is like 16 meters across, I think, like 50 feet. And I don't know all the things. You can look it up. I'm sure Google will tell you, or some blogger with yoga pants will tell you better about this thing than me. I just wanted to show you and talk about life in Belgium at the same time. But yeah, and you got Chinese tourists here and everything, so it must be popular. I'll walk through the gardens here a little bit. Yeah, what has happened? Yeah, I got the ID card. We went to London, came back from London as usual. My daughter's now eating half cashew, so the oral immunotherapy is working. It was a big relief that and we're going to test peanuts this week. We're going to go to London this week, and we're going to move from these peanut puff snacks that are basically made with peanut butter and corn flour and a little bit of sugar, like very small amount. It's basically a Cheeto made out of peanut butter instead of cheese, and move from that to like real peanuts. And then if that works, it's really mission accomplished. Then we just have 3 more sessions after that to get the dose up. So we're going to cross over, and then we will, we're returning to Ukraine. We decided to do that. We gave notice on the apartment, and we'll return there for 2 months before moving to the US in October. It's, I don't know, it's a bit of a gamble, but I think it's a calculated risk. That Lviv will be mostly okay. It won't be any worse than what it was when we were living there with the power outages. And we have enough backup water and everything. We never really had a water issue where water was knocked out. It was always just electricity. Gas was always okay. I think we maybe, cooking gas and all of this stuff was always okay. But it's people back there are telling us it's mostly okay. The foreign exchange rate is holding up, and that's actually the indicator to watch. If Ukraine got cut off and everything was so bad, the hryvnia would have collapsed. But it's holding. It's holding at 40, 41 to a dollar, 43, 44 to a euro. I mean, at the start of the war, it was up at 50. So, yeah, it's okay. See, there's some houses here in the woods. I don't know, there's a big clearing ahead. I'll switch the camera. Yeah, so there's a big clearing here. Yeah, it's very interesting over here. Let's get out of the center Brussels. Yeah. Looks like it's clean here, not all the cigarette butts and broken glass. Looks like an outdoor amphitheater. Like they set this up for plays and everything. That's kind of cool. Let me just go on this ring here. Yeah, that is kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of Lord of Three Ring-ish. So yeah, that's all that's been going on. I mean, now we're planning the logistics. Just planning our move back to Ukraine. So the same people that brought our stuff over, it's like we're going to work with them to get our stuff back. And I think we're looking at like €2 a kilo, something like that. So we have to, you know, I'm probably the desk and some of the things I bought, I'm just going to sell off here. You know, I already have a lot of that back in Ukraine, and yeah, just trying to decide what we're going to take and what we're going to keep. It's just a classical thing. You know, I love walking the woods. It's very hard to like film and photograph woods, you know. It's just something you have to be in and experience it yourself, like in 3D. But it's this is the kind of life I want. Live in some forest, you know, area. You know, this I think will do a lot for the kids' education. You know, I mean, of course you have to have good school and everything, but they have to have the right environment too. You know, this is how we were meant to live. You know, it's like Oslo. You know, it's like Norway here in this part of the Brussels. But unfortunately, this part of the Brussels is far away from everywhere we need to be. This is like on the outskirts, or on the northern and western side. I think in an area called Molenbeek. You know, and we'll go and approach the Atom here in a little bit. I just want to circle about here, and we'll go around. But yeah, so what else is going on? Yeah, we had saw a lot of crazy things in the neighborhood. So the police came to that park near our house and they swept it out. They took out all the homeless. We saw a witch doctor. We saw some, you know, African guy in a red jumpsuit, you know, with two 2x4s, and one of them had a shoe on it, and he was like sweeping the bushes with them and chanting. I mean, he didn't mean any harm, but you know, he was around the neighborhood for a day, you know, I guess getting out the bad spirits or something. Like I said, you just see a lot of crazy stuff. It's like America. This place is a good warm-up for the US. So yeah, it's I'll just get up close and show you how big these things are. Yeah, so it's moving along. Yeah, just the usual crazy stuff, and work is work. You know, I'm working in a company where the developers don't code. You know, the head of project management doesn't know anything about project management. They have 16 people doing the projects and maintaining the work after it's finished, and a lot of incidences getting swept under the rug. Tech debt, they call this. So yeah, just typical project manager job. Nothing like what is described when you take the tests or study the course material. You know, unless you're working at Amazon or something like that. You know, at one of the big companies where these methodologies were born. You know, it's like everybody else sees them as wasteful, and basically your job is just to yell at a bunch of Indian guys until they get everything done, but then they end up taking vacation, they end up quitting. You know, they get pretty burned out. You can't fault the Indian teams. They're not paid enough to care. They're seen like commodities, or just like implements or tools, not as human beings. And so they get worn out, and they're not so motivated. You know, it's like I said, there's a lot of work as project managers, but you change jobs a lot. You burn out and you hope the next place is better, but it's just a different flavor of the same. The grass is never greener. It's just different. That's all it is, really. So here's something else. Now, they said that this Atomium is not dedicated to anything atomic. It just looks like this, but it wasn't the idea. But ironically, Belgium does have nuclear power plants. Actually, that's something the French are actually good at. They built standardized designs for nuclear power plants and copied and pasted them. And they're actually working pretty good. But the thing is, you have like a lot of liberal activists, I think, got stuff shut down. But then you had this big crisis, now with, the Ukraine. I mean, that's why we're going back to Ukraine, right? The Russians attack and they're buying they shut down their nuclear power plants. They buy their energy from Russia. Now they can't do that anymore. So they're trying to bring back the nuclear plants. And now nuclear is having its renaissance. And that's something I want to get in on when I move to America. If I can't get into Amazon, or get into one of these Mag 7 companies. That's the other track I'm looking at, is to get back in the nuclear power industry. It sounds glamorous, but it's a good job, but it's not that interesting. And it's not that cutting edge. It's just a lot of documentation and procedures and quality assurance. It's like paperwork, making sure everything is there for an inspection, everything was done right. So, if they change a pump, one guy will change the pump, but 3 guys will supervise and say that the bolts were turned correctly, the seal that was inserted. They document every step, and, they'll take pictures. They'll do a checklist. Someone will check it over. Another guy will check it over. Because that stuff is under pressure, right? It's under like, thousands and thousands of pounds per square inch of pressure. You have hot steam basically going through a lot of these pipes, or high pressure water or something. Whatever it is. If it blows up, it could be catastrophic. So it all has to be done carefully. It's not like this, like these Indian IT companies where they just do everything because they want to get it done fast and they don't want overhead. In nuclear energy, it is the overhead. Most of the jobs are the overhead because everything has to be done right. It has to be done right the first time. Because if something goes wrong, it's just catastrophic. Lives can be lost. Economy can be lost. It's just it's just a real. So I mean, those jobs, they're important, but they're not very satisfying, I guess, to fill out papers talking about all the bolts have been confirmed, turned and 3/4 tight, and who was there, what time was it done, how long did it take. You have all the old stuff you took out. That's all been bagged and tagged. That has to be examined, sent. You got to manage getting the reports back. It's just a whole, it's like working in the government. It sounds cool, but then when you actually get the job, or even at a police station, I mean, very few cops are detectives and, actually doing anything exciting. Most cops are working in the station doing reports, and it's like that. But it pays the bills, and it's definitely in a growing field. So that's a career path I'm looking at. I mean, I'd rather, work in tech and be in something innovative, and you get to play with new stuff. But those jobs sometimes aren't very steady. Tech is always changing, always shifting. Those companies are always laying off and stuff. So it's something to think about. The trees here. And then I'll go head back to my wife and kid. Well, yeah, our daughter, yeah, she's really just running around now, and she's really got strong will. We can't get her in the stroller. We have to carry her. So she's like 16 months old. It's 1 year and 4 months. The time has just flown since she was born. I still remember her being born like yesterday, but she's walking, she's trying to talk, she babbles and says some words. Now she's learning Ukrainian and English at the same time, so kids who are learning 2 languages at once will start speaking coherently later because they're trying to process and register 2 languages at once, but in the long term, they will be better at it. And I hope somewhere she can pick up Norwegian or Swedish, or something like that, but that's optional. I'd rather her learn Latin, because Latin will get her a higher SAT score. So the schools we're looking at in America all have, Latin, they teach Latin language, which is like the basis of English. So your vocabulary expands. And then they, of course, focus on math, reading, writing, U.S. history. So we're looking at what's called classical Christian schools. Classical Christian schools in America. And they're like the Waldorf schools. They don't use the books. I mean, they don't use the computers. They don't use the iPhones or pads or notebooks and all this. It's all like pencil and paper, you know, paper books, you know, like hardbound books and everything, like textbooks. That was the word I was looking for. This bridge is closed here. It's like got probably trolls under it. Probably like, I don't know. It's probably being managed by the French. That's why it don't work. So, yeah, we'll just go back around, make a wrap around here. Or just take a shortcut. Yeah, I grew up in the woods in Minnesota and Wisconsin when I was young. So this is all very familiar. You know, now people pay money for this, but traversing the woods was like a thing when I was growing up. Taking shortcuts to school through the woods. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at. I mean, it's a system of schools. They're all over the U.S. So yeah, they wear uniforms. That's the other thing I'm looking for in a school, is that they have a uniform so that the kids are focused on the studies and not distracted with all this like fashion and all this, you know, petty stuff that just distracts. The world is getting more competitive, you know, and it's more important than ever now that parents kind of steer the kids in the right direction, because there's a lot of distraction, a lot of misinformation. I mean, it's all this garbage out there. Oh, you don't need to go to college. You can learn everything on YouTube. You can download PDFs and learn everything. You need to be in a classroom with kids. You need to have that social. There needs to be a teacher. There needs to be guidance, because it's a lot more than actually learning the skill. There's like this whole social etiquette that goes with it, and how to be around people and how to process thoughts. It's not just about memorizing stuff, but you have to develop a problem-solving process, learn how to work in groups. Like we used to do when I was in high school. We had a calculus take-home exam every semester. So, you know, a few of us would get together. There'd be different teams, and then, you know, we would all meet. You know, we had the weekend to do it, and, you know, people would jump teams, you know, who was getting the problems done. And so, and then everyone ends up syncing up at someone's house the night before, and then just copies off of each other. But then they give a quiz when you get back, you know, that they pick 3 or 4 problems and have you do them in the classroom, so to see if you've done it. So that quiz was pretty easy, because I actually did all the problems, you know, with a team, but I actually understood what was going on. Still got a B in calculus. I don't know like how I missed but I think as I just, you know, high school kid, a lot of distractions, you know, but it was good enough. You know, it was grade weighted. It was an honors course, so it was still a 3.9. You know, didn't mess up the GPA too much. But yeah, let's see, the field is over there. Yeah, I'm just heading towards the field that's behind me, and then I'll wrap this up. Yeah, that's where we are. So yeah, we are now. So we will be leaving in middle of July for you go back to Ukraine for 2.5 months, and then go to America. So most of my videos now will be about the logistics of getting out of here. You know, Brussels wasn't for us. You know, it gave it a chance and everything, but it's just a bit too much with all this French bureaucracy. And, you know, like I said, when the park's near our house where we're living, just full of cigarettes and broken glass, and, you know, a lot of litter everywhere, and then there's homeless dudes. You know, it's just a headache. It's just really, I wish it was all like this. This is like Oslo here. You know, this is, flip it around. Yeah, there's my kid's stroller. I don't know where the wife and the baby are. They're probably somewhere around here. Oh, okay. Oh, the baby and wife went all the way to the other side of the field. Like I said, oh, there they are. They're hiding behind the fence. But yeah, they're running around. Oh, yeah. So that's what's going on. Just checking in. It's more of like not really any points to make. You know, I think next video I'll take you around the neighborhood again. I met some of the shop owners, had some interesting conversations, so we'll talk about that next time. Anyway, see y'all later. Bye-bye.